Welcome everybody, another week and another show. It's the Hall of Famer Ray Corbett, Kevin Rao with you from Studio B here on Elmwood Avenue. Uh, Coach, we just keep rolling out these coaches that are just good guys. We're looking forward to talking this week with Jason Rice from Cardington, and then actually right before that, it'll be Anthony Calo. And nobody in Columbus knows basketball if they don't know that last name, because there's a lot of basketball between Anthony and his dad Ed. Man, it's and he's got another good one. But between the big school that's coming back and trying to get out of that regional final, and then you got the young bucks coming out of Cardington trying to make that a boys basketball school now after all the success on the girls side in all the sports. But anyway, we got a couple of good ones today.
Well, Coach Calo, his father and I, this is when you're getting real dirt old. All right. So we broke into it together. We supposedly retired together, but I'll never forgive him for going back on his word and coming back to South about 3 months after he retired. He's going for the Jordan Award. Who knows how many more times Ed's going to retire. But, the one thing I heard about Ed Calo, and again, I never coached against him. I just knew of him from afar and admired his program. But the one thing that I always heard about was family. He talked about the players who played for him always felt like they were part of his family, and the Westerville South program is that way. And I've got to believe with his son growing up in that system and such, a lot of those same characteristics are going to be seen in that Olentangy Orange program. And they've had a phenomenal run. They're going for, I believe, their third straight regional final. That just in public, no matter what level, no matter what division, that's difficult. That's a task. That's quite a challenge. And congratulations to Orange and those players and coaches for being where they're at right now.
Well, and it's interesting because their game last year in that final against Delaware probably is the reason we're playing out at the fairgrounds this year, because they didn't have enough room for everybody to go in at ODU and watch that game.
That's a heck of a knee-jerk reaction.
Well, I don't mind it, right? As a fan, I like being out of town.
Well, like I said, that's a heck. Let me just tell you that the locker rooms won't be the same.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
On the floor there might be more than one of those. I love the Coliseum. I really did. It was such a thrill to go there and to spend all day on Saturdays watching games. There's so many fond memories of the Coliseum.
Yeah, and I've told you a lot of times, one of my favorite ever was, the year that you got the win there over, Madison Plains First, who I think was the number 1 seed, and then you went on to win it in the next game, and guys hanging the net around their necks, coming out of the Coliseum. That's just kind of a fun thing. So
it's a great place. There's so much tradition, Ohio State being at the home court for the Buckeyes and such. Great times, and having the top 3 districts this year, or divisions having their finals there this year, is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And we'll also talk today, as usual, with Zach Fleer, who's been out and about, always gets to the good ones, and he'll give us a full report, and we'll kind of bat that back and forth as we're just about a week and a half away from the boys draw. The girls will draw this week. So next week, we'll actually talk about that girls draw and talk about where things are headed for them as well. So let's get to it. We got a couple of good interviews coming up. Again, we'll start with Anthony Calo, the head coach at Olentangy Orange, who everybody's talking, Ray, that Olentangy Orange and Reynoldsburg, that if they happen to meet somewhere down the line, that's a game that you have to go to.
Well, again, with the craziness of the draw this year, will one of those two, and I think it's possible that we could have 2 Central Ohio regional champions, thus possibly facing in a Final Four contest. That just doesn't happen that often. Yeah. And you've got 2 great teams that it's a shame that's the way it is, but it would be exciting.
All right, let's get to it and talk about what happened last week and what's going to happen next week with Zach. But before then, Anthony Calo and Jason Rice, and we'll do it right after this. Thanks to Just Hoops for sponsoring our show today. With facilities in Lewis Center in Dublin, you can level up your game today on 22 different hoops. In February, Just Hoops introduces the all-new Class Pass. It's a structure that allows more classes, more flexibility, more opportunity, and more development. No hidden fees or long-term commitment. Grab your Class Pass and join the classes that work for you. Learn more at justhoopscolumbus.com. Welcome back to the show, and joining us now, and boy, what another great run he's having, is the head coach out at Olentangy Orange, Anthony Calo. And Coach, congrats on another one. I'm going to turn it right over to Ray, though, so that we can get to the nitty-gritty on how things are going.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, Coach, first of all, congratulations. As Kevin said, phenomenal run. You had a phenomenal run last year. I mean, it seems like you've got a nice program. But before we get into this year, I have to ask, being a parent of and a coach of a couple kids, you decided to follow Daddy's footsteps. And for those of you who are not in the know, Anthony here is the son of Ed Calo, a 500-win coach himself at Westerville South, a state champion, just a great guy, tremendous success. And you grew up in this, and you played for him, I take it. And you had to learn some things. You had to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and here you are doing the same thing. Why in the wild world of sports would you follow somebody? I mean, having the information that you had laid in your lap, why would you follow this career step?
Because it's fun is a simple answer. But, growing up in a gym, it's cool now because the way I grew up, my kids are growing up, which is fun. But, after games, playing on the court as a 5-6-year-old, playing full court in the gym is the best thing in the world after you're watching the varsity play. Yep, grew up in the gym, playing, shooting contests with his alumni. Jermaine Geis at Westerville South now is the girls coach. He was French League MVP, and he's coming back in the summers, and we're doing shooting contests. As a kid, that's just the best thing in the world, to do that with your dad and his successful players. So, it definitely instilled in me and was fun for me. And now my oldest son is starting to like basketball, and that's been fun to share that with him. But yeah, it's enjoyable. Grew up that way, and not a bad way to grow up. So definitely learned a lot from him growing up that, I'd probably take for granted. But we definitely do things differently. Some things we do the same, but some things we do differently. But I feel like I tell my coaches all the time, there's probably so much I subconsciously picked up for him over the years that just helps me run a program, helps me run a team that, I had the luxury of learning without even realizing it.
Well, first of all, I concur. I agree. I enjoyed being at Grandview and watching my kids grow up in the gym. And I felt it was like the healthiest thing I could possibly do for my kids.
Yeah.
And it didn't keep them from doing things they wanted to do, but they always had that on Friday night. And I felt like the community of Grandview, just like I'm sure your dad felt like the community of Westerville South, was help raising my kids.
Yes.
And they always had an eye out for them, and they knew about, they'd ask about our guys and my daughter as they were growing up. And I just thought, man, this is awesome. This is what you want. And anyone says, well, don't you want to go to the big time? Don't you want to go to college and all that? I think you lose a lot when you do something like that. So
yeah.
I think
it was nice for me, Ray, because I had the benefit of being a college manager for the Buckeyes when in good years, really good years. We had won back-to-back Big Ten titles in Thad Matta's second and third year in the program, and made a Final Four, right? And I was dead set on being a college coach. But then through mentors of mine like Alan Major, who was an assistant, he was really, watched a lot of film with me, answered a lot of questions, and just kind of came to realize oh, wait, you're not going to do something after practice that's social. You're going to drive to Cleveland. How much, to watch a game after you just did your 9 to 5, you're going to drive to Cleveland, be home at midnight. How much of the job is recruiting, coach? About 80%. Wait, you're telling me you're 9 to 5, it's 20% of what you do? Yeah, to each their own, but it's just, I don't know. It was great for me because I was doing high school, working with my dad, and also working with the Buckeyes, and just, everybody has different passions, but for me, it was like, okay, like I think this is my route.
That's great. That's great. And when I was a young coach, your dad and I, again, I never coached against him. I've heard of things that he did, and it was from afar. But we did. He was an assistant coach at Grove City
Yeah.
when I was an assistant coach at Worley, Father Worley. And we had a preview, and I got to know him because I opened my mouth and started laughing about something that the Grove City head coach had said. And he looked at me in a stern look and just like put me back into my position real quick. And I asked your dad a couple years back, he and I are over there at Dayton picking up the same year, which was made it really special for me. We both picked up our Elvis rings, what I refer to the Elvis ring, the 500 win ring.
Nice.
That's so big you can't put it on, you can't wear it. All right, and I asked him, I go, do you remember that night at that preview? It was 30 some years back. And he goes, oh yeah, I remember that. And I'm like, God, oh my, I can't believe that. And here we were past that, and he was retiring, and he was telling me about some issues he had with his sleep. So let me ask you there, Mr. Young, successful, great things going for you right now. How you sleeping, Coach?
Game nights are tough, not because of worry necessarily, because of adrenaline. It's
Yeah.
just hard for me to come down after game nights. But yeah, it's part of it. So you learn
It's
to pick
part
up
of it. Your
different things
dad
to
was
help.
telling me about what he was going through, and I was like, Ed, how in the world you survive? The man was functioning like Larry Larson. When I got over to Grandview, Larson was telling me he would get 4 to 5 hours a night. If he got 5 hours of sleep, he was like, man, I'm bouncing off the walls. And Larry was a bouncer. Let me tell you. And I was like, Larry, I've never been that way in my life. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm talking to all these seasoned veteran coaches, and they've got Maalox by the bedside. They're just trying to do whatever they can to get some shut eye. And then your dad's telling me he's functioning on a couple hours. And I'm like, man, how'd you survive that? That's not healthy, guy.
Yeah.
And 3 months after we had that discussion, he goes from retirement to back into the frying pan. And I hope he's sleeping well now. I can't imagine he is, but I hope he is.
Yeah, my mom says it's getting a little better, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Coach, let me ask you just about this year's team. If somebody hadn't seen you play yet, maybe saw you last year, what's the differences from last year, and what would they expect to see when they came to see Orange play?
The differences between last year and this year?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, great question. Um, it's funny because I'll tease out the differences here in a second, but I just talked to our team last night before our game. We're watching Roundsburg play ahead of us, and they're playing really well. And it's like, hey, maybe some people are seeing us for the first time tonight. Um, and like we feel proud of what we're doing here, but you never know. If somebody sees you once, they might not ever see you again. So it's not about what other people think necessarily, but we want to produce a really clean product, a really enjoyable product, play our brand of basketball. So we just talked about last night, somebody seeing you for the first time, what are they going to think about you? And being intentional with how you play, so you can produce those, thoughts you want. But differences between last year and this year, we have 4 out of 5 starters back off a team that was 26-2 and made the regional final. So not too many differences necessarily. We only lost 2 kids out of our rotation, one guy off the bench and one starter. We did lose our best shooter. So I think, from the outside looking in, some people were concerned, or even within our program, are we going to be able to replace the sharpshooter we lost? Dylan Joy last year made over 53s, excellent shooter, one of the best in the area. And no knock on Dylan at all. He was wonderful for us. But I knew the guys were working hard, and we weren't going to replace it necessarily with one guy, but I thought collectively, we'd be able to piece that together, with some improvements some of the kids made in the offseason. But Again, though, Kevin, you got 4 out of 5 starters back, 7 guys back from your rotation. Not too much is going to change. Um, but I would say that's obviously a good luxury to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very experienced group. So similar style of play, no doubt. But we're able to, since we had such a solid base, um, we were able to like just kind of add some wrinkles because our kids were so experienced and understood our system so well. We were just able to add a thing here, a thing there to just make us a little more dynamic and a little more dangerous.
And what would you, if you were to describe offense, defense to those coming in and might want to look, a layer down and, kind of understand the game within the game, how would you describe your offense and your defense?
Yeah, I think, our style, everyone talks about, it's funny you hear every college coach that gets hired. We want to play fast. We want to play fast. But we do want to play fast.
Yeah.
We want to play fast offensively and defensively. We say pace on offense. We want to play with really good pace. Not out of control, but we want to put constant pressure on the defense, constant pressure on the paint. We want to get the defense moving and, we want to get downhill to make the defense make some decisions. And then, there's a lot more to it. We got different systems we use offensively. But then defensively, we're kind of a mix between constant ball pressure and try to be sound discipline wise with our help rules. In my opinion, we have some of the best on-ball defenders in the state of Ohio. We have a lot of guys that can really guard the ball, which is a great luxury to have. So we'll play full court. We've done it for a few years now. I think this is now our 4th year in what we call our tagging system. And it's just basically an offensive rebounding and defensive transition system where we try to, put immediate pressure on the basketball as soon as the offense or, the opposing team gets the ball. And we're not necessarily trying to turn you over, but we are trying to wear you down throughout the course of the game. And then, but it's, low risk if we're doing it correctly. And then the half court, we want to play great, team defense as most teams do.
So last night you played Hartley.
Yeah.
That had to be like a practice because I saw
No,
Hartley.
no.
No, and I don't no disrespect. All right. But in terms of styles, I
Okay.
saw them at the 614 against Wyoming, and hats off to Hartley for playing who they're playing. Wyoming was unbelievably talented, discipline, execution, hard face guard. I mean, just in you big time defensively. And you guys sound similar to that. So if you're not strong with the ball on the perimeter against you, then you're in trouble. And so I'm thinking that against Hartley, styles were very similar.
Yeah. Hartley, Coach James, I know Coach James pretty well. We've known each other back from when I played junior college basketball. He was recruiting some of my teammates when he was at Tiffin. I wasn't good enough to get recruited. But
Yeah, there was a tear. There was a tear there. Okay, it disappeared quickly, but there was one, and I hear the violin in the background. Go ahead.
hey, it's all right. My playing career was done quicker. It helped me be a better coach. So got me with Coach Motto at Ohio State. But anyway, known Coach James for a long time. A lot of respect for him. First time we've ever played each other though, and I thought they were really organized, played really hard. But yes, Coach Corbett, their style of play is fast. It's aggressive. Um, that's okay with us.
Yeah,
I'm
okay, all
certainly
right.
not knocking them at all. They do a fantastic job,
They
but like
do.
our kids don't mind playing fast. We
Right.
got good guard play, and it was a fun game. It led to, in my opinion, a very fun game, an enjoyable game to watch. 75-60 high scoring game. But yeah, we got to make a lot of plays in the open floor, which was enjoyable.
75-60. You're giving me close to a heart attack. Okay. Our scores at Grandview are always in the 40s, and here you are throwing up, you're doubling my score. And
You wouldn't let my kids shoot for crying out loud.
hey, we had to make sure the right people shot the ball every possession, Kevin.
Fair
I'm
enough.
sorry.
Fair enough.
So you talked about your experience you have coming back. And so, like again, outstanding season last year. And I wouldn't think you'd make any changes based on the number of people. You've got 7 in your rotation is back from last year. What do you rotate? How many do you regularly play, maybe double figures a night?
How many are in our rotation?
Correct.
Um, Anywhere from 8 to 10 consistently. Um, Maybe 8 to 9 consistently. And then, if we, but it's hard. Like that's the hardest part about playing because our
Right.
kids or coaching rather, our kids have such good attitudes and they work so hard. And truthfully, we have 12 guys that maybe even some of our JV guys we dress that could play for a lot of varsity programs. I recognize that we're very blessed and fortunate to have a lot of quality players and, not only quality players, but like understand our system, try to execute within our system. But it's just hard to play 12 guys on a consistent basis. But the reality is, it's hard on those 10 to 12 that aren't playing much that could play for other programs. So I
Right.
feel for them, but they've had a great attitude throughout this process. And when they get opportunities, they do a good job. Like versus Centerville, though, we played 12 guys in the first half. And that's the team that was in the state championship last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're not doing that every game, but there are games where we'll just for foul trouble or breath, whatever,
Yeah.
playing guys a minute here, a minute there, and they just got to do a great job and star in the role for that minute. How do you have great players that play within a system and play team basketball, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of two factors. I think we've been pretty diligent with our culture of selflessness, we over me, however you want to say it, team first basketball. We've been different things we do with that, but we've been very diligent with that. And then also we're just really lucky. Like, Devin's not the only one. We got Levi, like our kids, Keegan, our kids that are those 3 kids average double figures. So they're not the only selfless ones, but those 3 are average double figures. Um, our kids are just so selfless, and I think a lot of that came naturally to them, and credit to their youth coaches as well. Um, but like, so a part of how they're wired, because Devin, for example, he was second team All State. How about this? This is a crazy stat in my opinion. Second team All State last year. He only averaged 13 points a game, and he only took 8 shots a game.
Wow.
Who the heck is second team All State with 8 shots a game? And it's not like he's averaging 20 rebounds or anything crazy like that. We win. He's selfless, but also like he's really smart and he's a great passer and he makes people better around him. So like, in my opinion, that's what makes us really dangerous is, I think unfair to Devin. He gets criticized a lot, like, oh, he's not that good. He doesn't score that many points. But the people that really understand basketball really appreciate him because he controls the game
Well, you
and
know what?
makes everybody better around him.
I saw you guys play probably 3 or 4 times last year. And what struck me about him was just the effortlessness that he plays with. I mean, he
Yeah.
looks like that. I mean, he's working hard,
Yeah.
but he is just anybody who knows basketball, or at least even from my standpoint, it's just like, this guy could score as many as he wants, and he doesn't have to.
Yes. Yes. That's a good way to phrase it. Like, he's really efficient, excellent passer. But again, like I double down on, he makes us so much better because of his play style and his just the way he's wired. Like he just is wired to be a great teammate and make others better around him. And I do think that kind of ties to the culture a little bit and the kids before him. 2 years ago, so 2 years in a row, we've been in the regional final. Last year, 26-2 regional final. Year before, 24-4 regional final. And then hopefully, we have a great finish to the season. But 2 years ago, we had 3 guys go D2 to really good D2s, and all 3 guys were excellent teammates. So Devin was a sophomore starter for that team. And I think, the coach at Wright State phrased it really well, in my opinion. He said, sometimes kids just catch it. And I thought Devin like caught that, like the selflessness from those other guys. And we like to use the phrase healthy ego. All those guys know they can take over a game. but like they're just wired to be great teammates and make others better around them. And Devin learned that from them. And it was fun for him, fun for Levi to play that way. And so it got passed to them, and now they're passing it down to others. And, hopefully we keep that culture of like, yeah, I can take over a game, but I also know that if I have my teammates, we're a lot more dangerous.
How much does it help that Levi is not just a one sport player and he brings that mentality? I got to think that's a really nice asset for him.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And it goes beyond Levi though, because it's funny because that team I described that was 24-4. We only had one two-sport athlete, and it was in our rotation, and it was Levi as a freshman. Now, fast forward 2 years later, I have to do the math, but of our 9 guys, I think only 3 are basketball only, and the other 6 are really good in other sports. Like, Levi was second team All State in football. Trayton, our point guard, was first team All State in football. Keegan Nupp is going to Eastern Michigan for baseball on a full scholarship. He was first team All State in baseball. So, Terrence Thomas committed to ODU for football, and Beckett Miller, a good football player. We have really good two-sport athletes. And I was nervous about it, Kevin, because we had basketball only kids and we were really skilled. But then what I came to realize is, we just are so competitive, physically tough, like unafraid of the moment. And a lot of that stuff comes from the other sports, no doubt.
The coming from a small school, Grandview, we shared.
Yes.
It was sort of, that was the standard. So it was unusual to only have maybe I'd get the ideal maybe might be a basketball, baseball, and baseball would be over and I'd have him in the fall preseason and I could work him out. But echoing what you said, multi-sport athletes, contrary to what a lot of parents believe, I think, in today's world, because they're being told that their kid needs to specialize. We as coaches sort of like that because they do come in with first of all, they're being coached by different voices, different styles, different sports, but they're being taught to compete.
Yes.
And that may be the most important thing they're being taught. Get out there, compete, go after it 100%. And that's a recipe for success. And one other point is kind of interesting. We had, Coach Nosman from your sister school up there. Man, I tell you what, Olentangy, what are you guys drinking up there?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But he mentioned and actually emphasized a number of times the multiple sport athletes that he has in his program and the success that those programs are having and what that lends. It's, I've been there when we brought in athletes from other sports that weren't successful. And when that happens, you sort of have to spend some time reshaping, getting them to believe that, hey, you're supposed to come out here and compete to win. But when you bring them in after successful fall sports, spring sports, whatever the experience might have been, boy, oh boy, do they add a lot to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, no doubt. It does help that those other sports are playing are successful. Like our football team, I think was like 10-2 or something like that this year. Had a great year. Our baseball team, the baseball program is very strong.
Right.
Has been for a long time. We got 2 kids in our rotation from the baseball program. So you're right. Like being a part of successes in other areas, other sports, just gives you different voices, gives you that competition. Like I use the phrase unafraid of the moment. It helps when competition's competition.
Yep.
Like if you know how to compete, it matters. It just does.
So the future, you've had a run that's phenomenal. You're reading off 24-2 or 24-4, 26-2, and here you are again. I've got you, by the way, and I want you to feel good about this. I know that Reynoldsburg right now is the number 1 team in the district. I've got you on the Corbett poll as the number 1 team in the district, and I've got my own wisdom behind my own ideas why I put you ahead of Reynoldsburg, even though I believe they're a phenomenal squad. I'm not trying to sell them short. I've got you at number 1. And I looked at your schedule you've got coming up. I mean, you got a couple cupcakes here. I might throw you a little cupcake action.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna give us the kiss of death.
I mean, what do you have left? I mean, you barely got by Kaufman.
Yes.
Kaufman. So you threw that prayer was answered. So now you're bringing them into the friendly confines of the Orange High. All right, you've got them. You've got Arlington. You got Ridge. I'd like that Ridge game. That's going to be fun there.
Yeah.
Ridge. And then you get to wind the season down with a little neighborhood rivalry with the Liberties. I mean, that's exciting stuff, Coach.
Yeah, no, it is. Cupcake. What cupcakes are you talking about? Hey, anyone watching, those were his words, not mine.
Yeah. You got to understand with Coach Corbett, he goes with the jab and then he brings you close. That's his style. So
yeah, no, we have our league, in my opinion, Coach, is no disrespect to other leagues. This is just me, having respect for ours. I think our 6-team division is as good as any division in the state of Ohio. Or I'm sorry, our conference.
Right.
So it's a really good conference that we're in, our 6-team division. And so every night is tough, and that really prepares us. But yeah, we got some non-league at Walnut Ridge, at Pick Central. And then speaking of league play, you got Upper Arlington with an Alex Smith, Ohio State commitment. And then you have Tyler Kropp going to Northwestern, and you can't ever sleep on Bradley with how hard and disciplined they play.
I just saw them last week.
Hoffman played us extremely tough with some really good shooters, and they play with a great competitive spirit. So, hey, we've played some good teams so far, but we still got a road ahead of us.
Coach. I really do. I was just having some fun with you.
No, I know. I'm having fun with you too.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we appreciate your coming in today and talking, and we'll have you back because you may be interested to know we may go all live stream on the draw, so we'll be looking at that, and Coach Corbett will be doing some jabbing going on that day. I can guarantee you.
I just don't understand the draw whatsoever. So
no, I know. I was going to ask you guys if you looked into how it works this year because it's completely different.
I get to see you at the Coliseum. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, and we know that some people, that's the game. They'll play one game at the district final level. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how you guys decide where you want to go. I mean, maybe that's
I still got to ask some questions to make sure I fully understand how the mixed region works. There's a Columbus Southwest region that produces one Final Four team, and I got to continue to ask questions to make sure I understand that because this is the first year it's happening. So I just want to be fully prepared to make sure I understand the lay of the land.
Is there a chance that a Cincinnati-Dayton team could be coming to Columbus's 4-team region?
Yeah, so the Columbus has its own region is what I understand.
Okay, all right.
So, there's a 4, there's 6 districts.
Correct.
6 district champions, Division I from Columbus.
Which makes total sense.
4 of those will be, in the Columbus region, right? So from that 4 district winners in Columbus will produce one Final Four team. But then the 2 other Columbus champions, from my understanding, plays 2 Southwest teams. So it'll be 2 Columbus, 2 Southwest, and that produces 1 winner. So from my understanding, could be 2 Southwest teams in the Final Four, could be 2 Columbus teams in the Final Four.
Gotcha.
Who plays who? I don't know. I've heard that Columbus could play Columbus in the Final Four. Columbus could play Columbus, like if 2 Columbus made it out. Columbus could play Columbus in the state championship would be wild.
Yeah, it really would.
So we still need answers on all that stuff. I heard that the state knows, but maybe I haven't read an email. That's possible. But
you're raising all those kids, Coach. That's okay.
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
Thanks a lot for being with us today. Really appreciate it.
Coach.
We'll be out at a game to check things out, and then hopefully we'll get you back on.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate you trying to elevate Columbus sports. I think that's wonderful.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Another great coach coming up here, and from Cardington, Jason Rice. And Coach, thanks for being on board. Thanks for taking some time today to talk to us. I'm going to turn it over to the Hall of Fame coach, Ray Corbett. I'm required to say that at least 3 times in each broadcast. So, Ray, go ahead with Coach Rice.
Well, first of all, thanks, Kevin, for that intro. That's the first time you've said it in today's program. So
I
you're
got two
down
more.
two.
Yeah.
So, Jace, first of all, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're sitting here. You're 13-2 at Cardington. I can tell you from past experience when I was over there at Bobcat High over at Grandview. I remember the heyday, it seems like, of Cardington basketball when you, Worthington Christian, Centerburg, you guys were playing such great small school basketball. We'd have those tournament district finals at the Coliseum in Columbus, and everybody, you could rob Cardington in a heartbeat because there was certainly nobody home during those game days. And I just have to ask, are you getting the old timers back like they used to show?
We are. It's been exciting last 2 years with these guys. There we have 11 seniors. When I took over 3 years ago, this would be my third year. They were all sophomores, and they were coming off the year before that. They had 2 wins, and we went from 8 wins to 15 wins to now we're 13-2. And when I first got the job, first thing I did is I tried to find the best team. It wasn't hard to look. There's a big banner in our gym, and it was the 95-96 state Final Four team. And I started asking some questions because I was a ball boy at Shelby, and that team I heard about. So I'm like, okay, like I didn't really know much about Cardington, but I knew about that team. And the first thing I did was ask some people about them. I actually hired one of the players that was on the team, Nate Fiant. And one thing we want to do is we wanted to relive greatness. And he created a quote that on the back of our camp shirts, it says, not sure if you can say it, says, I am the future wanting to relive the past. And it says 95-96 state Final Four team. And we've gotten some of those guys back. Rod Braun, who is River Valley's head coach. He was
Right.
He's come back in the gym multiple times. I've talked to him. We actually get the grace of playing them in a week, so that would be fun. But talking
That'll
to
be, by the way, if people want to go see a game, that's one to go see.
yeah, I was like, I want a game that is maybe above our standard, and let's just let it fly and see what happens. And if we do make a run, at least if anything, that will get us prepared. And it's something with us only being 10 miles away. The boys all knew Rod when he was a coach, love Rod, are friends with the River Valley kids. They haven't had a chance to play them. I'm like, we're going to be good. They're always good. Let's play some good basketball and let's just give the fans something to look forward to. And so a lot of those alumni from the 90s teams that were very successful have come back to games. And then my assistant varsity was the girls basketball coach for 10 years when Jamie Edwards was the head coach. He was their assistant varsity when they went through, I think it was like 8 straight conference championships. He came on the boys' side, and he was towards the end of the 90s when he played. And he's told me many, many stories about these 90s powerhouse teams. And the boys have kind of adapted of this could be the next big thing in Cardington.
Well, before we get to this year's team, let's talk about a little bit about your journey to being the head coach there. You mentioned being a Shelby, but talk about, how you came to this place and what your background is.
So, graduated from Shelby High School, played for Troy Shremley, who is a River Valley graduate. Kind of got to know him a little bit through it, played for him for 2 years, went to Ashland University and played. And then, after that, my 5th year of college, Tim Freilich was the Ashland University's assistant coach. He got the Ashland High School job, and he's like, hey, do you want to come with me? You're done in college. You want to come be my assistant? I was like, sure. Did that for a year, learned a lot of great knowledge through Coach Rowe and I, who was at Ashland, Coach Ellenwood, Coach Freilich, his wife, who's Michigan State's head coach.
Yeah.
I sat in his basement a lot, just mouth open, trying to figure out what they were saying, trying to catch up because they were speaking just powerful basketball stuff and just life lessons. And then after that, I went to Lexington for 5 years and became a coach, or was an assistant coach with Lexington with Coach Hamilton. And then throughout the whole thing, I was doing national AAU, and we got to travel the country with a bunch of kids in the state of Ohio, and got the privilege of losing in the state Final Four in Orlando. And I think it was 2019. We lost in the championship the year before that. And I got married during that time. My wife's like, can you take a break from coaching high school? That lasted 2 weeks. And my buddy from Shelby called. He's like, "Hey, I know you said you'd stop coaching, but I have a sixth grade team. They won, I guess there's a youth state championship in fourth and fifth. Would you like to join the staff?" Sure, I'll be the head coach. Talk to my wife. He wined behind my wife, did it. And the cool thing about it was this year's Shelby seniors that just went to the state Final Four. That was their sixth grade year, is the group I had, and then went back to Shelby for 4 or 5 years and coached, and then came to Cardington for the last 3 years.
So
Yeah, so you were out and they dragged you right back in. Yeah.
And my wife still reminds me that every day. Remember that 2 week hiatus you took?
Well, get used to it. I don't know how long you've been married, but I guess women don't forget.
No.
Okay,
Yep.
so you better be ready for it. So I've got two pertinent questions here. First of all, what's the mascot of Shelby?
The Whippets. It is
okay.
It is a dog, and when I was in school, I'm not sure if they still do, they would have the football team line up and they would run this whippet, and they would tell the football player, if you catch this dog, there's some reward. And nobody ever caught that dog. But
yeah, it's like a small greyhound, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like,
it's quick. It's super fast. Like, unless you are 10 feet in front of it and you just jump on it, you're not catching it.
All right, now here's something that deals with basketball. So I have to make sure on occasion I ask that type of question. How do you keep 11 seniors happy? You got 11 seniors. I've never had 11.
No.
And the most I've ever had was, I believe I've had 7.
Yeah.
And, it was always my belief that if you're not, again, you're winning, which is, it's certainly nice medicine, but you still, with 11, unless your rotation is 11.
No, it's not.
There you go. So you must have some boys who are pretty special to want to be part of this and realize what this is all about.
Yes. I give a lot of credit to Coach Tremlay. When I was in high school, we had 10 seniors, and he did a great job, and we won my senior year as well, but he did a great job just doing a lot of activities outside of basketball, inside basketball, to do things. And the one nicest thing about this group is, out of all the groups I've ever had, this is the group, of course, I came in with, but we are the closest group. We have inside jokes. We added Coach Hardwick my second year to the group, and he just fit right in. But these seniors have been all best friends since third grade, done stuff, and they were part of I would say when they were freshmen, they got beat on quite a bit. And because we had 3 of them moving up on varsity, and it just brought them close. And they've struggled in other boys sports. When we first took over, it was a big girls sports. They were good in volleyball. They were good in girls basketball, girls softball. They had great coaches, great players, and that all they've strived to be is to make this into a boys basketball school where it was in the 90s. And we do a lot of things on the outside of basketball. We took them to Hoosier Gym this summer. They live in the gym with me. We went to, I think, like 20 something days we were together doing something in the month of June. We work out all year, and they're just a unique group, and I was blessed to have them. There wasn't any secret antidote, more of they're just good kids, and they just wanted to be together.
Yeah, and I think right there is, I don't think you see that, again, going through all the divisions, 1 through 7. It'd be hard pressed in my mind to see a senior dominant class like that in these larger school districts. I think when you have, and especially where you say they've been friends since the 3rd grade, because those school districts are going to have multiple junior highs, multiple elementaries, whereas your guys, they're locked in there, good, bad, or otherwise. Guys, we're together, and we've been together for all these years, and personalities have already worked themselves out so they fit or they don't fit. Yes. And so if they're fitting, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and a lot of credit goes to their youth coaches. It's Warren Garrison, Denton Garrison, and then Eric or Braden Lackey. Their dads were their coaches from 3rd through 8th grade. So they really only had those 2 coaches 3rd through 8th grade. Then they had our interim coach their freshman year, and then myself. So they've had 3 coaches their whole high school, their whole careers. And a lot of credit goes to those 2 dads, because they put the pieces together, helped them with their attitudes. And then, of course, we plugged some stuff in the high school, but they've been a fun group. When they graduate, there will be some sad tears by myself and them.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your team like this year? What do you guys do? What's
So
your style?
we are run and gun on offense, and then defensively, we are very fast offensively, and then defensively, I always came from we played full court, 2-2-1, diamond press, 100. Well, we thought we could do that this year at the beginning, and we tried. And the first attempt to Fredericktown of my defense coordinator is my assistant coach, and he is a defensive guru.
Way to put it on his shoulders.
Yeah,
That's good.
And here's the kicker.
Wow.
At halftime, we had this great defensive strategy that he was going, and I think we were down 2, and me being stubborn, and of course, I'm a big Ohio State fan, and Ryan Day and that Michigan game kind of went a little conservative in his play call. And at halftime, my lovely assistant coach goes, "You're being Ryan Day right now."
Wow.
Conservative. So we went back into 100, and we just got burnt in the 100 press. And so I remind my buddy that every day. I'm like, hey, but I told myself I had to sleep that night knowing that we'd get beat my olden way of going 100, 2-1.
There you go.
We were at Fredericktown. It was a must win for them being home. We play them at home late in the season. And as soon as the game was over, I looked at Scott and I said, so next time I tell you we're going to 100 and I try to overrule you, tell me to shut up and sit back down and you're in charge. So, and since that, we went in that locker room and I told the boys, I said, listen, this loss falls on me. Coach Hardwick had this game plan to play 50 defense, do some different things. I went against it, and we did it our way, my way and your guys' way of we're going to get out and run it and just try to beat them to 100. And since that, the boys have totally bought into his defense, realized it works. And he is the real reason we're 13-2 is because the boys have bought into what he's doing defense. And they were always an offensive team, but they wouldn't sit down for 32 minutes or they'd get bored or ADHD and we would go crap somebody randomly. And so, we just had a big win Friday. I told the boys, this is what happens when you buy into Coach Hart. There's a reason he was very successful on the girls' side of this and has brought us from 8 to 15 wins to now 13-2. He's the reason that we've made the step defensively that we've needed to.
Well, it's good that you give him credit because you're giving him blame for being a defense on one hand, but now you're giving him credit. So, there's a little bit. I understand. And being that it's your first head coaching job, is that right?
Yes.
You've been able to delegate this already. Superior. I mean,
that's nice.
That's pretty special.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a long time to figure out how to put the losses on my assistant. So, all right. So, yeah, you did have a great win. I mean, I've been keeping track of all the scores, and I've got my own poll. And by the way, you guys are the leader in the Corbett poll, which is much more important than the Max Prep.
I
Who
appreciate
cares about Max Prep, right?
Hey, by the way, I want to point out, Ray, before you go, the winner this year of each of the divisions in the Corbett poll get donuts. I just want to put that out.
Whoa. Is that solid?
Yeah, no, we're good. We're in.
We're good.
That's a done deal.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm feeling good about life now.
No pressure.
Cardington, my man. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah, and by the way, don't wait by the door for what Max Preps is going to send you because there ain't going to be anything.
Well,
no, I didn't think so.
That the kids could enjoy, and they don't care about. You get a little statue or something, a plaque saying you're the number one team. Now the guys get to enjoy the sweet smell. How about that, Kevin?
I like it.
Oh, success.
I like it.
I know who's doing the commercial now for this. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great win against Northmore. I was surprised by the spread because they've been playing pretty well. I mean, they're having a great run in football. They did a great job, and now here they are after maybe postponing and shutting down basketball a little bit, but they seem to be getting their footing and playing well. And you guys go 72-48 on them, so that had to be a nice win. And you lost in a close one. I mean, I say a close one. I wasn't there at the game, but a 9-point game with the Freddies. But you've got that was snowed out, I guess. So Did you have to reschedule that? When is that rescheduled?
So that's rescheduled for Friday, February 7th.
All right.
Sounds like another game we need to be at.
Yeah, we're going to be thin.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
But that should be a fun one because that's the friendly confines of Cardington, right?
Yeah, it's at Cardington. It was, I like it. I didn't like it at the beginning of the year, but we played all away games pretty much. And after Tuesday, we'll have no more away games of the season, but the back half of our schedule is almost all home conference games. So we play Northmore, Fredericktown, Centerburg, Mount Gilead, all at home still left. And it was horrible at the beginning of the year getting on a bus. It felt like every day, but now
Right.
we're getting the benefits from it.
Are
Well,
the
you do
Freddies
get-
your big rival? Is that who the kids look at as their rival?
So Mount Gilead is the rival. I would say Cardington, Mount Gilead is the rival in football, whatever. But when I got here, I looked at it. I was like, who's won the last multiple conference titles? And I'm like, we said Centerburg, Fredericktown, and Northmore is boys basketball rivals. They've always been good. They're always successful. We want to be in that top tier of the conference. You've got to beat them in all the levels, not just varsity. And so in all of our levels, those are the three teams that we say they're very well coached. They're very knowledgeable. They always have good athletes. And Coach Ruth, who is Northmore's coach before Coach Tackett, he's came into our gym multiple times the last few years, and um, he's helped our boys. He's given me a lot of knowledge on the boys basketball side of it, keeping me sane on a lot of things. And he's told me he's talked a lot about that success of those last couple of years. He had those teams, they've come in, and it's been very awesome to have the boys connect with not only local legends, but also in the surrounding county legends too.
Right. Did he discuss how it was nice to have two brothers that were 6'8", and then a nice I think he had a transfer point guard that won the state in the high jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coach Ruth and I, we played each other.
Yes.
I think 4 years in a row, and
Yep.
they were battles. They were
Yeah.
big time battles because he had some people.
Yes.
And he did a nice job with them. He's a good guy, real good
Yeah.
guy in business, no doubt about it.
Those guys are great. They've all been in our gym, and I actually just told him last night on the phone that I was having a video call with you, and he's like, oh, he's a great guy. You'll enjoy that. So
Yeah.
he talked about it.
All right, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. As I say, we look forward to coming on out, and we may, as we've talked about a couple of times, may do a live stream on the draw.
Yeah.
That afternoon, a little bit later, obviously, so we can get all the results and going on. So we'll see we're not going to ask you how you're going to game plan for it because we know nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it'll be fun to see, how all these things develop because, being in the Central District kind of changes then your focus, right? Coming into the tournament.
Yes, it's been being in the Northwest District is a little different. You had, I think it was like 3 or 4 in the D at that time it was D2. Here is we got the lovely gauntlet my first 2 years being in the Central District with Harvest Prep and Worthington Christian. I think my first game ever in a tournament was playing Worthington Christian, which we got ran out of the gym by like end of the first quarter. So it's nice to have, I was a big component of these 7 divisions. I was like, I want to get away from some of these teams that we just have no business playing. And just seeing some of these D6 teams now, I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, like some of these teams we know, of course, like Centerburg, Northmore, some of these other teams, some of these teams I've never seen. So told my wife, hey, we're going to be doing some date nights on some Saturdays that we don't play. And we're going to maybe go watch some of these games that I haven't seen these teams play yet.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm
How about
excited.
So you're a big proponent of these 7 divisions, I take it.
I am for this part. If I was back in the Northwest District at Shelby or Lexington, maybe not so much. But when we heard this, my AD told me last year that was coming. We were big on it just because we've lost to Worthington Christian my first year. We lost to Horizon Science last year. It was a great game. Just getting away from some of the teams that are a little bigger than us, do a little bit different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, every coach has their own unique perspective when it comes to the 7.
Yes.
It's nice to. I'm a mixed bag, to be honest with you. I am. I love the tradition, but if that's it's not Hoosiers anymore. We're not trying to play somebody 20 times our size.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And you are facing schools that are more similar to you,
Yes.
which is a good thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the numbers aren't bad. What is it, 138 teams in division?
Yeah.
So for the divisions 1 through 5, there's 138 or so teams per division. And divisions, I should say, I'm sorry, 1 and 2 have 64 each, and then it's 3 through 7 that
Yeah.
have the 138. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting run to see what it looks like this year because there's so many questions.
Yes, that's what Coach Hardwick and I were just talking about. Like, there's so many questions, just the tournament atmosphere of it, just interesting. Like, I think we said whoever the first and I believe the second, or whoever the first seed in our district could really host sectional semis, sectional championship, district semis, and then would go to ODE for district finals. So that will be a interesting thing too. Like, I'm used to just neutral sites, and
Right.
it's different. I won't lie, I haven't even looked at where regionals is. I of course where state finals is, but I'm like, I haven't done too much research because anything can happen and one day at a time.
I think that I agree. I was abused by my staff for years for never looking at the tournament.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we had a run of about 4 or 5 years where we were pretty good and we felt like, hey, we got a shot at making a run. Do we want to look at where we might have more of an advantage if we go to this region versus that one? And so you would go to that particular district that fed into that region if possible.
Yeah.
But you will talk about date night. That's getting on the horse, and that's a long haul to figure out because we had, back then 2 district champions, one going to OU, one going to Dayton.
Yeah.
So you have to compare, and you have to have assistants that you trust that when they go out and they see somebody make a layup, they're not saying, "Oh, we don't want to play them." You got to, they have to have a pretty good perspective of what you're going up against. So but you know what? The tournament's a ball. It is.
Oh, yeah.
When you lose, you know what? Get the uniforms, people. I get the uniforms tomorrow. See you later. And you just take the air out of the balloon. It's time to relax for a few weeks before you start thinking about the future.
Yes. That's what we told the boys after Friday night's game. Like, enjoy it. 2 years ago, you guys weren't even in a conference last year. You got the taste of it this year. You still have very meaningful games. Enjoy the moment. Don't look forward because at any time your season could be done, and just enjoy being seniors. Enjoy just everything you do. Just enjoy coming to practice because before you know it, your time at Cardington is done and then you're part of the past, and hopefully there's numbers up there to represent you.
Good stuff, Coach. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a healthy way of looking at things.
Yes.
Absolutely. Hey, we appreciate you taking the time today, Coach. It's it's cold outside. Sometimes tough to get moving.
Yes.
Especially we call this where I am Studio B here for basement. So it's not
You
warm.
can add other letters if you would prefer, but this is a G-rated program.
That's it. We're going to stay with Studio B. Hey, we're going to come out. I hope we get to deliver some donuts.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Come out to Cardington. So, hey, good luck the rest of the way. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. And now it's time to talk to our good friend, Zach Fleer, about what's going on around town, what he's seen, what he's going to see. Hey, Zach, welcome. Thanks for taking some time. You've been busy. Where were you this past weekend? What'd you have a chance to see?
Yeah, Friday night, went up all the way up to Marion Harding, watched them host River Valley. It was a rivalry matchup one, but second reason for it was first place in the MOAC was on the line. And River Valley jumped up to a 9-0 lead to start, led from start to finish, really turned it up in the second half and pulled away with the win. Really impressed. Senior guard Chase Ebert, he's been a 3-year starter for them. Last saw him play the district's finals back in 2023 against Bishop Waters. And so he's really grown leaps and bounds with his game. He's their point guard, top scorer. had a great, really, really good performance. Just really brought it on both ends of the floor, and they picked up a great home win. And those are two teams, River Valley and D4 and Marion Harding in D3. Both could be, top 5 seed. River Valley right now has got they're number 2 in the RPI behind Jonathan Alder, but they already beat Alder head to head this year. So, two smaller schools. I've been trying to show the smaller division some love. So went up to that game Friday, and then Saturday night went up to Thomas Worthington for the Wotown Showdown, as they call it, between the Cardinals and Worthington Kilbourne, and that was a pretty good game. Kilbourne, I think they were down after the first quarter. They led after the second and third, and then Thomas just really turned it up in the fourth quarter. Senior guard Julian Johnson had great, big time fourth quarter. I think he scored like 11 points in the fourth, and led them to a big rivalry win. I think it's the second or third year in a row that Thomas has won that game. So those are two teams that'll be in the mix for top 10 seeds in Division 2. So it was big RPI matchup for them, because I think Thomas jumped Kilbourne after that in the RPI standings, and then obviously got bragging rights. So those are the two games I checked out this weekend, and then I had my eye on what was going on at ODU, with Reynoldsburg beating Akron St. Vincent St. Mary by 20 plus, and Olentangy Orange handling Bishop Hartley. So, I wish they would play each other in the regular season, but we know that's not going to happen. They're going to run into each other eventually in the tournament between Orange and Reynoldsburg. So that's the matchup everybody's waiting for, but we may have to wait, definitely more than a month from right now. So I think Reynoldsburg's got a real shot, though. They're 17-0, I think, or 15-0. I think they finished the regular season undefeated, and they won't get the opportunity to play 30 games like years past, but that could be a team. They have the pieces and they have the talent to run the table and maybe be an undefeated D1 state champ, which we have not seen. And I don't know the last time it happened. I know Lima Senior back in 2016 was really close to doing that before they lost to Western South. So if Reynoldsburg can pull that off, that'd be really big for the area.
I actually did play-by-play for one of those undefeated Zanesville, but that was way back in '95. So I'm sure somebody's done it after that, but that was a nice run by the Blue Devils. So, but it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Zach, how about the Marion Harding? What'd you think of them? They have a young man that's up there. That's the coach's son, Boston, who for a brief moment was a Bobcat, and I really thought that he was going to be a fine player. And they've had success the last couple of years, and I know he's a junior this year, probably about 6'4", 6'5", can do a lot of different things.
He's good. He's really expanded his game. Last year he was more low post player. This year he's hit a couple threes in that game. Pretty good athlete. Him and Logan Thrapp were their two best guys. So it's kind of a weird, Marion Harding or Marion area Grandview connection, because I know Brian Collier was a Pleasant guy, wasn't he, before he came to Grandview?
He was. Thank God his mom became the school treasurer, and she's an outstanding school treasurer on top of bringing a daughter who was one of the better athletes in her class, as well as Brian. So it was a win-win for the whole district when the Colliers moved into town.
That's true. Hey, you were talking about smaller schools and you taking a look. One of the people we interviewed this week is Jason Rice up at Cardington, and he's really put something together. That whole mix of all those squads, he's got some big games coming up as well. I know with River Valley and with Fredericktown, I believe.
Yeah,
they got that's going to be the KMAC championship when they take on Fredericktown. If they stay where they're at, I believe that game will be. I think it might be Saturday actually.
I think it's like, I don't know. I wrote it down.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think
it's Saturday because right now Fredericktown is let's see,
should be one game up
in first place in that league, and then Cardington's right behind them. So
that's
a game I've had my eyes on. I might go check that out this weekend.
That was another
game on my schedule, but I don't know. I might go up there and see that.
That was a 9-point spread at Fredericktown the first time, and I'm sure the beauty of being a guy that loses 9 by 9 is that your players will understand that you want to make some adjustments, whereas the guy that won the game will have a more difficult time convincing his team that they need to adjust, because the players naturally go look at the scores. Hey, we beat them by almost double figures. Why do we need to change? So I'm not saying it's a great situation, but it's not the worst. Coming in my friendly confines of Cardington. Cardington has had a tremendous history of basketball up there, so if like you said, if they all hold serve until that game, that should be a great place to be.
We also talked this week, Zach, to Anthony Calo, who has one of the great advantages of having quite a few guys back who are really good. But the thing that impressed me about our discussion with him was his ability to get everybody to play a team game when you have that many people that could just flat out do it by themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I like about the Olentangy schools is, they allow their guys to play multiple sports. I think of the young man at Liberty, Jake Struck, who's an all-state in football, lacrosse, and hockey. He's been a state champion in all three sports. You look at the Orange basketball roster, Levi Davis has been all-state in three different sports between football, basketball, track and field. He'll be a Division I football recruit. Keegan Nupp, who's, their center, he's committed to Eastern Michigan for baseball. You go to Liberty, Parker Van Engelhoven is their, one of their top guys, and he's a Louisville baseball commit. So that's one thing I do like about the Olentangy schools is, you got those kids that play all types of different sports. And I think when you do that, like, it brings in a certain level of toughness. You get certain things from certain sports, and then that, helps in the basketball culture. So it's one thing I do like about, especially Orange, is they don't, shy away from, having guys play different sports and, commit certain times of, their year to those sports and not just be committed to basketball. So, Coach Calo's done a great job. He's established a great culture, and, the senior class led by Devin Brown, they've really helped change this program, and they'll have a really good shot. It's very difficult in Division I to make regional final 3 years in a row. And we'll see if this can be the year that they finally break through, losing the last 2 years and that title game. So
do you think that what they do or what they're selling up there at Olentangy, Liberty, and Orange, and all the Olentangy schools, this whole idea of playing, because it has to be a marriage of coaches. These coaches have to be selling this idea of multi-athletics. And it doesn't seem to be, it seems somewhat unique, especially at the D1 level, maybe D1, D2, to them. I don't see that elsewhere. And I don't hear other coaches and other programs discussing that and emphasizing that. It seems like a lot of these D1s, and I go back to, and I was part of the Coaches Association, but the whole idea of us having 3-on-0, 4-on-0 workouts, individual skill workouts, and now there's maybe some indirect pressure on your athletes who are, I'm not sure I want to play baseball in the spring, or I'm not sure I want to do this. And so knowing that they have that workout opportunity with their coach, they spend more time doing that. They're now becoming more specialized. Parents are seeing it at a young age. And I think that, the whole big time impact of this is you're seeing more injuries.
Yep.
All right. And it's sports specific type injuries. Baseball players throwing their arms out, football players, whatever it might be, to your particular sport, because you're wearing those muscles out and such. I think we're seeing it's just not a good situation. And what Liberty and the Olentangy schools are doing, again, at that level, seems to be unique.
Absolutely. And I think when you go back to like the foundation of all sports, like certain sports aren't meant to be played year round, like basketball. I'm teaching basketball this week, and it was invented by James Naismith, who was a gym teacher.
Come on, Zach.
It's like basketball was created, James Naismith created it to, have his students be active in the winter months. I think when he probably invented it, he wasn't thinking it would be something that's played year round and kids would spend all spring and summer playing, 3 games in a day. No, I agree. And it is different with Olentangy. And like you said, you got to have, coaches all have to be on the same page. All it takes is one coach to get away from that. And then, you may not see the certain, dichotomy
So
they
this,
got right now.
sorry, didn't mean to step on you. This week, you mentioned maybe going to see some things, but what do you have locked in to cover at 270?
Yeah, Tuesday night. Tonight we'll be going to Afrocentric. They're hosting Walnut Ridge, so that's a big matchup. First place in the City League South is on the line. Afrocentric won on the road at Ridge the last time, overcame I think like a 16-point deficit in that game. The interesting part about the game is the winner pretty much is more than likely going to win the South Division. Afrocentric has that 1 game lead, but for the City League South title purposes, they have that tiebreaker. So, whoever went to the City League Championship the soonest would then loses the tiebreaker. And Afrocentric was 21, 22, 23 City South divisional champs. So Walnut Ridge would get that nod if they do win tonight, because the last time they won the division was 2020. But the interesting part is in 2021, Afrocentric actually won it, but then they got COVID and couldn't play. So then Walnut Ridge got to play for the city championship. So, but it's besides the point. So if Ridge can win tonight, then
bringing some stuff in from different angles. I love it.
I know if Ridge can win, then they're gonna more than likely, if they beat the rest of the teams in their league, played what should be Northland in the city championship. Now the interesting part about that is also tonight, Northland is playing Centennial. If Northland beats Centennial, then it pretty much wraps it up. Centennial's 2 games behind. If Centennial beats Northland, then who knows what happens. Northland's got to go to East on Friday night. East always plays Northland tough, so especially at East. So Northland needs a win on the road tonight. They're playing the 2 best teams in their division on the road back to back this week. So, and Afrocentric's doing the same thing. Afrocentric's playing South and Walnut Ridge this week too. So some good games in the city. And then Friday night, it's going to be like a 270 Hoops co-owner reunion. Jason Morrow and I both are going out to London to watch London and Jonathan Alder play.
Hey, in London.
Oh, okay.
CBC
County is going to
Championship
be hot
at London. Going to go to
we
Cappy's
to the
Pizza.
Dutchman before.
We're going. No, it's at London, so we're going to Cappy's Pizza before.
Okay.
Sure.
That's
great.
It's a good call.
That's Friday, and then Saturday I plan to. I think I'm still going to do it. Going to go to Grove City Christian. They're hosting Fairfield Christian. Fairfield Christian's got a kid I want to watch. His older brother, CJ Pena, that played at Harvest Prep and then eventually played at Boston College and is a pro now. Just saw some clips of the younger brother, and I'm like, he looks pretty good. I'm going to go check him out. So
yeah. What year in school is he?
What's that?
What year in school is he?
He?'s a junior at Fairfield Christian. So I want to check him out, see what he looks like. His brother was a late bloomer and is an incredible player now. So he may be in the same boat. So going to go see that one, go see some D6, D7 basketball and fill my cup up. So
yeah. Hey, I wanted to tell, and we covered at CBUS Sports, we covered the City League Championship the last couple of years. And I would tell people, come out and see that. I mean, that's a fill the gym, have some fun, going at it. So I know that we've enjoyed covering that. So I would tell people, keep your eye on that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a unique game. There's no other league that really does anything like it. And then having it at East at noon with that big window, and you got the sun through, like it's just a really cool environment. And if it's Northland Afrocentric, then that's a rematch from 2022, because last year South played for, or 2023 actually, when Northland upset Afrocentric. And then if it's Afrocentric or Northland and Ridge, then you're going back to 2015, 16 when they played. But the really interesting part, if it is Northland and Ridge played in the tournament last year in the sectional finals at East, and Walnut Ridge beat Northland. So that would be, there's interesting storylines either way you slice it. So I'm excited to watch some City League basketball. I'm a little partial to Northland since I've worked there, but whoever they get, it's going to be a good battle for them. So
should be.
One thing's cool about Northland. Our roster has changed. We got a kid that moved in last week from Springboro that is a Division I track commit that did not play basketball for them. 6'6", really impressive athlete. Moved into the neighborhood with his dad last week, and he joined the basketball team this past week and just got cleared.
Those track guys have that quick twitch, man. They can get up off the floor, right?
And the best thing is he's a senior, and Coach Tyon told me he has no ego. He just wants to rebound, play defense, and make layups when he's open. Like,
oh boy, can't beat that.
Look out.
There are a couple other decent games. A couple teams having some big weekends, big weeks. Harvest Prep has Pickerington Central. Then they turn around this Saturday and they have Berlin Highland coming into town. I mean, you want to talk about a gym that's going to get full early based on history. When I was assistant at Worley, that's right. We played Berlin Highland. They were number 1. We were 2, or vice versa. Saturday afternoon, I got there at 4:00, and the buggies were there. They show up early to support. That place will be that'll be a packed house. Upper Arlington, big week. They've got Orange coming into their house, as well as a 12-1 Hilliard Derby. The king of Hilliard is walking in.
And Darby just beat Watterson last night at home.
Yes,
too.
Impressive win.
That was a big time win for them.
That's a 9-point win for them. So, and I'm so happy for Coach because, it's been a long time since they've been able to enjoy this kind of success out at Darby. And for him to be the top dog so far in that community, it's got to be a healthy thing for him. He's got to feel really good.
Well, I did games out there last year, and you could see it coming.
Good.
Yeah, you just saw the buy-in, and you knew, but actually both boys and girls, you knew that it was going to be, something to watch. I didn't think, I didn't know how the boys would do because it's just so competitive. But they've played way better than expectations. So
we've got
them next Friday against Olentangy, so I'm excited to watch Darby up close and personal.
Good. I want to hear about them. We've got the Battle of the Westervilles, North and South, going this weekend as well. So I don't know. Are you able to toss out the records when those two teams play? Is it like the team up north and the team down south or something? I don't know.
I think North is just really talented this year. South is kind of young. Last time they played, North won by 20 plus. So
okay.
And that was at home. So they are going to South, but last year I saw them play when that game was at South, and Ty Perkins had insane third quarter. He scored 24 points in the third quarter alone.
In the third?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's one quarter, one player. Yeah, it was one of the best plays I've seen. And that kind of put him on the map a little bit because he was still, I think at that point more people knew of his brother Micah than him. And I think that really put him on the map. And then, he committed to Akron over the summer. So I think with that, man, South is good. Ed Calo is going to get those guys ready to play, but this they're just a little different this year. I think the schedule they've played, and then they've won 12 straight games at this point. I think that's a team that they have a real shot of getting to the state.
I agree. I think we got Central Ohio's got some chances here. You've got some outstanding. I mean, you've got good teams every year. Don't get me wrong, but you look at it, Olentangy, Orange, or Riddlesburg, both of those. And I'm not trying to discount you've got a Delaware team that's outstanding with and kids coming back, and they are playing great basketball. Olentangy, Liberty, those maybe would be the flag bearers in Division I. But North is special. And I think Tim Casey's got those boys at New Albany really starting to play. They're going in the right direction right now. I saw them personally last week and against Bradley, and I really liked them. And Bradley gave them everything you could possibly throw at them. Threw them a couple different look zones, so man-to-man, everything. And Timmy, as Tim does, they were well-versed and ready to go. Then, of course, you got Hartley, which is, I think they're outstanding. I think a sleeper in this, and I may be crazy this. I know they're struggling a little bit now, but a sleeper in that division could be DeSales. They've played a lot of tough games, good competition, and there's some talent there. And Coach Murphy, I have tremendous respect for him. I could see them right now. They're like a 5 or 6 seed in their division, and I don't think many people want to play them. They've got a lot of the ingredients that could make them special. And then
they're playing Reynoldsburg tonight. I mean, they
think about who they're playing. Yeah, there you go. Play the best, right? Then you get to Division 5, and Harvest Prep, they're the 5th-rated team. Who in the world, 1 through 4, wants anything to do with prep? Nobody. I guarantee you, nobody wants anything to do with them. And they're not slouches in their own way. Afrocentric is outstanding. So those are it seems like those are teams or brackets, divisions, whatever, that have a real prayer to get people to the promised land.
How tough is D5? I'm actually on the final Saturday. I'm going up to Mount Vernon Nazarene to see those two games because here are the records of those top teams in D5. Columbus Academy, they're 15-0. Bishop Reedy's the 2 seed, they're 16-1. Africentric's the 3 seed right now, they're 15-1. Fairbanks is the 4 seed, they're 16-1, and then Harvest Prep is your 5 seed at 10-7 with that schedule they've played.
Yeah,
it's crazy that only 2 of those teams can be a district champion out of that group.
I think it'll be interesting when it's all said and done to interview Coach Dennis and say, okay, is this the best way for you to go? Before he was beating up, and I don't mean this in any way of embarrassing, but the Cardinal division was non-competitive for him.
Yep.
So he would get 12 easies every year. But then his non-league was pretty solid. Right now, there are no gimmies in that schedule that he's playing. And he's going to get into the tournament, and his record will not indicate the type of team that he has. And it's going to be interesting to see how he feels about this route versus his previous 10, 15 years.
I'm interested. Yeah. I mean, I wonder like if that schedule before helped them be a little more fresh for the tournament, just because your top guys weren't playing the whole game, when you're winning those games by 40, 50. Because you go back, like Harvest Prep did not win or did not lose a league game from 2017 until the end of last season. They lost one game, and they lost one game, I think, in like 10 years in that league. And that was to Grove City Christian at home, to Matt Bailey and the guys back in the 2010s.
Yeah, I remember that group.
Yeah.
Well, and there's all kinds of factors involved, like you said. But, the other thing is you play a non-league schedule every game. So what's the difference between you playing a non-league schedule and you playing AAU? What are you getting fired up for? And I always thought that, okay, the AAU season is supposed to prep you for your high school year. But if your high school year is a non-league, emotionally, are you into it as much as you will be in the tournament? And that may be a different little thing that he's got to deal with that he's never dealt with before. And again, he could have sleptwalked through the MSL Cardinal and won by 20 every night. So maybe they weren't fired up then. I'm not aware of the situation he's had. But I watched him against Lutheran West. And here we go. Another non-league, neutral site, no crowd, blah, blah, blah game. And is that what you really want in high school? And so it's
kind of what I saw when I saw them play at Hamilton Township. They kind of going through the motions in the first half, ended up falling behind like 15 points, and then they turned it up and ended up winning that game. But again, like you said, it just, non-league, there's really no shared connections between those two schools. They didn't have a big fan base or anything. And
where's the joy?
Yeah. So, but they ended up pulling off the win, and then they took Richmond Heights this weekend. So
yeah,
they have really challenged themselves. I give them major props for playing that.
I do too. I'll give you credit because I criticized prior. I was like, why are you playing this schedule? Get out of that division. So now he's done what I thought he should have done a while back. And I think he's doing it the right way. But I'm sure there are warts to everything we do. And I'm sure he's discovering those right now.
The team I want to shout out is Franklin Heights.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
On the west side, Coach Tony Rice is in his first year, left his alma mater Briggs after I think it was 15 or 16 years there. He's got the Falcons at 8-5. They've won, I think, 4 games in a row. They got loaded schedule. They got 4 games this week against Worthington Christian, Patriot Prep, Buckeye Valley, and Saturday they're at East, or they're home against East. If they can go 4-0 this week, I mean, they'll be at 12-5. Right now in the RPI, they're 7th in Division II, and in Division II this year, you got 5 district finals, so 10 of those teams are going to be in a district championship game. So, you can see Franklin Heights going from the bottom of the barrel since 2014, they've been 5 wins or less every year, to be 8-5 right now. I just want to give props to the Falcons. They got a nice senior group there, duo between Kent Hairston and Noah Kershaw have been really good for them this year. So keep an eye on Franklin Heights. If they can go 4-0 this week, if they're 12-5, that's going to put them, in that top 5 range. And they're, in the hunt there in the CBC or the CBL, still behind Academy and Bishop Reedy, but, they've been holding tough and played some good basketball this year.
Kevin, I believe we have another connection here. I think he's playing a fan favorite by bringing out Franklin Heights. And I say that because if I remember correctly, my 1 year at Reedy, West High School won the City League, and their starting center was a young man by the name of Torrey Kershaw. Could this possibly be Mr. Kershaw's son playing for the Falcons?
It is his son. He played Westland and then transferred over to Franklin Heights this year.
How about that?
Small world, man. Yeah. Hey, we're going to let you go, Zach. We really appreciate you jumping on. It's a busy week for you. And we'll look forward, man. You're going to see some great ones. So we'll look forward to talking to you next week. And, as we get ready for the tournament draw, and then about that the next week. So we'll cover all this. But again, thanks for taking the time, man.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks to Just Hoops for sponsoring our show today. With facilities in Lewis Center and Dublin, you can level up your game today on 22 different hoops. In February, Just Hoops introduces the all-new ClassPass. It's a structure that allows more classes, more flexibility, more opportunity, and more development. No hidden fees or long-term commitment. Grab your ClassPass and join the classes that work for you. Learn more at justhoopscolumbus.com. All right, time to finish up this circus and get to watch some basketball this weekend. So, Coach, again, expectations about coaches that come on here, and I think I'll say it again because I think one of the neat things about our show is that people get to see these guys as people, just not running up and down the sideline and trying to get the refs to give them the next call. But I was just so impressed. I mean, Anthony Calo, you mentioned it. He comes from a family that gets it, and he obviously took all that in and is now implementing that. And then Jason Rice, who is, putting his stamp on things at Cardington in a program that, has seen some lean times. And he's been able to get it done and get people back out to the gym out there. So we had a couple of good ones today.
Yeah, again, we've said a lot about Anthony and his dad and the family and the programs and how they mirror each other probably. So that's solid. I really enjoyed our talk with Coach Rice out of Cardington. I do remember early in my career seeing those good Cardington teams, great maybe Cardington teams come down to the Coliseum and play. And that was just great. Again, being a small high school kind of coach that I was, I love that element where it is everybody knows everyone else, and they've known each other forever. And this is our class we've been building. We've been talking about this since the 5th grade. That's the kind of stuff you get out of a Cardington. And
you know what? You also get those fans that don't have a son or a grandson on the team, and they're still coming out because that's what Friday and Saturday nights are for the most part,
Yeah, exactly.
And I saw that in Zanesville growing up, and I miss it a lot in some of these programs because, once kids are out, they move on, the families move on. So it's just fun to see a small town like that. That's the heart and soul of what they're doing. That's fun.
Yeah. And it seems like he's embraced the tradition. Back, in the 90s, he's inviting those guys back. He's talking to area coaches. He loves the tradition, and he's trying to marry into that tradition and bring Cardington the way it was back in that day. So good for him. Good luck to Cardington-Lincoln. Run.
Well, you know what time it is. It's time to get
the
Corbett poll. And again, I'm starting to smell donuts is what I'm starting to.
I'm not sure if the coach is going to want us delivering those at the end of the final regular season weekend or maybe after the season because their kids might become lethargic due to donut.
I know. We probably should wait till the very end. I agree with you there.
All right, so here we go.
Yeah.
Division I. And again, we have 7 this year. Division I. I'm stubborn. Unlike Max Prep, who has Reynoldsburg number 1, I still have Olentangy Orange at 14-2 as my team to beat. Reynoldsburg at 15-0 is number 2. Olentangy Liberty 13-3. I've got Delaware Hayes, who's at 11-3, and then I've got the Newarks. The Newarks are number 5, and right now Max Prep is getting Hilliard Darby in there to take the Newark's place. And
we
and
got to keep an eye on them
had
for
a
sure.
nice win last night or this past week against Watterson.
Yeah, that was a huge win. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, number 2, Division 2, as has been the case all year. Westerville North are number 1. Them and New Albany both have a 13-2 record. Licking Heights, they seem to be playing better and better and better. They are now 12-4. They are number 3. Northland, who has a huge game Tuesday with Centennial at Centennial for the City League North.
And we'll drop this after that game, so you can go back and look. So we're recording on Tuesday, so people will be able to take a look at that when it comes out. Yep.
And then finally, Big Walnut rounds it up. That's the top 5.
Okay.
Division 3, the Hawks of Hartley, still number 1 at 13.
They've had some tough games, but they're playing some good competition.
They're playing phenomenal. They just played Orange this past Saturday, and I mean, their 2 losses are Wyoming and Westerville North, Olentangy Orange.
Yeah.
Power scheduling at its finest right there.
Yep.
The Eagles, 10-3 of Watterson High. Walnut Ridge in my poll is the number 3 team. Marion Harding in the Max Prep poll is the 3, but I've got them at 4. DeSales is my 5th. In Hamilton Township, who's still there, they are the Max Prep 5th. So I have a little differ a little bit with, and I'm going on my own strength of scheduling. I think DeSales is my sleeper in that district. I like them a lot. All right, Division 4. Once again, some questionables. The Max Prep rating has Johnny Alder, number 1, River Valley 2, Heath 3, London 4, Johnstown 5. I'm going with my poll. I'm going River Valley 1. I'm going Heath 2. River Valley's 12-2 with a great win at Marion Harding. That's why they get to kick up. Heath's my number 2 team. All right. I still have London ahead of Johnny Alder. They are going to be playing tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Tuesday night. So that should be an interesting game to determine the number 1, in my opinion, or at least the one above. And then Johnstown rounds it up at 10-5. Okay. Division 5. Throw them out there and let them fall where they fall, because I have no idea. I mean, there's 4, 5 teams, 6 teams that are just head and tails above anything else. But Academy at 15-0, Reedy's at 16-1. Afrocentric 15-1, and now they play Walnut Ridge tonight. Huge game, league ramifications, district ramifications.
And Zach will be, by the way, Zach Fleer will be out there. We'll hear from him next week about that game.
Yes. Unlike Max Prep, I have Harvest Prep at number 4, and they have 7 losses, and that's putting them above a 16-1 Fairbanks. But Harvest Prep, I saw them live. They passed the eye test.
Well, they've got experience getting all the way to the state tournament. So
they get a chance to flex their muscles a little bit this week. They play Pickerington Central, who's a powerhouse, or a 500 D1, but I saw them. They are very talented and athletic. And then they come back and they play Berlin Highland. So not a bad sandwich, not a bad back-to-backer for the Prepsters.
That's a game that I would like to see, because you and I have seen a lot of Berlin Highland over the years.
I've seen enough of Berlin Highland.
But I will tell you this.
Enough against Harvest. I don't think I want to see either one of them, Kev.
No, I understand that, because, you had your tussles with both.
Nightmares.
I would just like to say this, and if anyone from Berlin Highlands listening in, they had the best food for the media in the state of Ohio. So I'm just going to throw that out there because I always enjoyed going up there and doing a game. So, yeah.
I'm not sure that unless you're getting married, you should ever let the stomach do the talking here. Okay. But
God, I wish that were true my whole life, Ray. Where were you when I was a young man? Holy smokes.
All right. Division 6. We're going up to Cardington. There are 13-2, or they are number 1, and they're not number 1 by far.
Okay.
Tree of Life is 13-1, and they've actually had a couple nice wins. They beat my Bobcats. They beat kind of Christian recently. Northmore 9-4. They got their lunch handed to them by Cardington last weekend. A very surprising score to me. Centerburg out of the same league, the Knox County. Hey, we got 3 of them out of that division, actually.
Yeah.
So they're dominating the Division 6 scoreboard or the district. And then Grove City Christian at 6-6 is the 5th rated team. And then finally, Division 7. I still have Shekinah, though they lost to the tree. I have Shekinah 11-2. They're my number 1. All right. Max Prep has Fisher Catholic there. I am going with Shekinah. I'm actually going Patriot Prep as my number 2 at 8-4. If you look at some of their games, they've had some challenging. They put together a nice challenging schedule.
And again, they've got experience in the tournament. So
yes,
yeah.
Fisher's my number 2 or 3 team at 12-1. They're having a great year out of the Mid-State Cardinal.
You spent some time down there as well. Yeah.
Yes. Go down Coon Path Road and as far as you can and take a right.
Exactly.
Okay. Northside Christian at 11-5. And then Ridgedale, we don't know a lot about, but they're 12-2. And, they used to play very good basketball up there at Morrill Ridgedale. So there you go. There's my top 5 in Division 7.
There it is. All right. Well, next week, we're looking at you in palm trees or not?
Oh, yeah. I'm coming out there with the floral Red Sox Jimmy Buffett shirt with palm trees in the background. I'm taking my talents to Fort Myers, Cape Coral.
I don't blame you.
And I will be there till the end of Boston Red Sox training camp.
Okay.
An integral part in their customer service.
Okay.
I don't understand. They haven't named a field after me yet. And I'm a little disappointed.
You know what? There's time. Just keep doing it, man. Just keep doing it. Maybe I'll if I can convince Carol, maybe I'll jump on a flight. We'll do the show down there. Who knows?
Oh, hey, I got that hot spot. My wife has taught me how to use, but I'm Mr. Tech all of a sudden.
Yeah,
that's technology. We go out there on the beach there, buddy. It could get ugly quick. Let me tell you.
I like it. I like it a lot. My problem is that when I'm out on the beach, everybody tries to keep pushing me back into the water. So
we'll pick you up.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Hey, thanks, man. It's been a good week. We got a lot to watch until we meet again. And we'll have, you and I are going to be talking about the girls because they'll have their draw this Sunday.
Yep.
And so we'll do that. We'll keep up with the boys with Zach, but you and I will talk a little bit more about the girls and may have a special guest or two. So we'll work on that. We got our production team, hard at work, and we'll get back. We'll get back with everybody next week. But hey, safe travels, brother.
It's expensive paying for those that team of production team we have. Those squirrels need a lot of peanuts to keep going, brother.
Hey, acorns aren't free, man. Well, no, maybe they are. Well, anyway, we'll work on that. Hey, good job, brother, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good, Kevin.